The Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's great to have all of you with us. Again, it's going to be a great night tonight. A lot to talk about, a lot going on in and around the country. But my headline story tonight takes me to the studio kind of next door to this one, Studio A. So we're going to start out tonight talking about something a little lighter, and then we'll get into the heavy stuff, the later segments. If you've watched the Bahamas Tonight Access now at 7:30 p.m., you would have noticed that the show has a new co-host, a new co-anchor, accompanying LaDawn Davis is journalist Marlena Leonard. She's been in the media business for several years now, and we're excited to have both of them joining us here tonight and have her joining the Bahamas Tonight family, actually. And both hosts are just running from Studio A. They're now here in my studio, and I'm so happy to have them here. Good evening, ladies. Welcome to The Rundown.
Thank you.
I get to interview you this time. But it's so good to have you guys here in The Rundown. And let me say right off the top how proud I am of both of you and what you're doing with Access Now. Congratulations. It's always iffy when you have a new partner. You wonder, is there going to be the same chemistry as I had before, my previous co-host? But you guys, it definitely looks like you're having a good time together. Yes. Tell us, how's that been working so far in the few days that you've been doing Access Now?
I've been having so much fun. I mean, because you come into it a little nervous. It's almost like your first day in a new school, and you're like, is anybody in my class going to like me? And LaDawn's just been amazing from the jump, just completely showing me the ropes and just so welcoming.
You know, this is like uncharted waters for me. You know, I've had two male hosts before, and so she's just a bubbly personality and bringing a whole lot of fun and excitement to
y'all give me the NBC vibes. Hoda Kathleen. Let's be Hoda Kathleen. Hoda and Savannah vibes, you know? Hoda left now. I think we got our own Hoda Savannah. But let's talk a little bit about you, Marlena, before we go to LaDawn, because we know LaDawn. She's been a staple here for many years at ZNS. But let's talk about your career in journalism. You know, we know we're the national news company, so we don't mind calling other people's names. You're coming to us from our news over at Cable Bahamas. And how has the crossover and the transition been for you to the national network?
It's been really interesting because obviously that was also where I made my start. And so just being able to see how things work just in the country in general in various places, it's just been such an amazing chance to see how you can have different methods and both things work, and just it makes you more flexible and versatile, I think. And everyone here has been so welcoming. Again, that same first day at school feeling. You get nervous, but it's been like I walked in and we meet each other on assignments all the time. So a lot of people I knew already, but everyone else, even who I was meeting for the first time, so warm, so welcoming. It's been amazing. That's
awesome. LaDawn, for you, Access Now is a different kind of news show that you've been doing. You've anchored before the main newscast, the national newscast. What was it like producing this for the first time ever, this kind of product, which gives you a more fun vibe, a lot of the lighter stories? What was it like crossing over from that mainstream hard news?
I know it's like more professional. You have to be more, straightforward and more cozy. But this show, it's more fun. You get to get into character. You dress up. You just enjoy yourself. And so it's been pretty good coming from the hard news to now the softer side of news at 7:30. So it's been pretty good. It's been pretty
so, you know, the big question is, what can we expect? What can our audience expect with Access Now over the next few months this year? What are some of the stories? What some kind of vibes that we can expect to see, or that you would like to see happen on the show?
Ooh. Well, I think just piggybacking off of what LaDawn was saying about being able to have fun and having some of that good news, being able to, at the end of your day, turn on Access Now and end your day with a smile, like end it on a high note, which I feel like we're always getting all of the stressful information through the day. And just being that part of the day where it's like you're winding down and you get to hear some good news that's happened in your community. It's so important. So I think just bringing more of that.
I know humans, they love to see themselves. Human interest stories are their stories. Bringing more interesting content to 7:30. So I think that's what we need to bring more of. I know my most memorable part of doing Access Now is Fridays, Entertainment Fridays.
And I haven't done an Entertainment Friday.
You're going to get to see that. That's exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you're going to experience that on Fridays.
So, you know, I always ask people, is there a story that you hope that you can actually get to bring? There's always that little thing that you want to do, that fun story you want to do, or that daring story you want to do, and you're like, boy, if I one day I get to do this story and bring this to air. Do you have any of those kind of stories that you want to do something that you've never done before on television?
We do, but we want to keep it in the bag.
Oh, you got something? You got something up?
We got something.
You got something up?
Yeah,
All right,
we got something.
you got
So we want to
something
keep it a secret.
You got something up.
Yeah.
Along with this show, I don't want to forget the other persons that make up Access Now. You have sports, you have Basil with weather, and you have Matea with the socials. Let's talk socials. What's it like working with those other three anchors to bring the product together?
It's been absolutely amazing. Again, you know, meeting all of these new people, but seeing how you're able to seamlessly tie it into the brand new community things to the things that sometimes people, especially with like social media, you don't realize how much of an impact it does have on your day-to-day, even if it's just to give you that smile at the end of the day. And so all of the work that everyone puts in just to make sure everything flows smoothly and you've got the variety in the show, it's so much hard work that you don't even see.
And I think Matea is doing such a great job. She brings all the excitement from the social media world. Even if you're having a bad day on a Thursday or even on a Friday, she has so much energy and so much excitement to her social media platform. Basil, have you seen Basil dancing during the weather?
I have.
Really?
Yes.
Basil dancing?
During the weather,
Lord
yes.
have mercy.
You had me laughing in there yesterday.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's pretty good. It's going pretty well.
The show is produced by our Director of News and Local Programming, Tanya Smith-Cartwright. And what is it like working with her as a producer?
So I'd worked with her before.
Right, correct, correct, yes.
We were both at Cable together. So obviously coming to work with her again, I was super excited because I know the kind of energy that she brings to her programs, that it's going to be that kind of fun, and that we're on the same page with trying to make people feel better when they turn on the TV. So I was super excited to start working with her again.
Awesome.
And she's always looking for content, always trying to get, you know, the newscast full with some good, decent content.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting to see what the next few months are going to bring, because, you know, we've been at it from September.
Correct.
And so we're going to celebrate our one-year anniversary on September the 16th, I think it is.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Correct.
We're having a good time. I think we're having quite the ride.
I think, honestly, for me, it's a sense of relief to see something that you envision actually come to fruition, because you're always wondering, well, I know what I see in my head. Will it actually come out the way I see it? And when you see that you guys have taken it to new levels, it's been absolutely amazing. LaDawn, you've been excellent with Marcellus. And then we had to move on from Marcellus. We were like, oh, Lord, what we gonna do? And then, Marlena, you're now in the picture, and LaDawn did it solo for a little while, and she had some of the other team members assist her from time to time. But to see us now take it to the next level, I think is exciting. I guess my question to you all is, what do you want to tell people to expect? What do you want people to, when they turn on Access Now at 7:30, what do you want them to see? Another newscast, or do you want them to have a different experience?
The fun side of news, more content, more human interest stories. We want you to actually be able to call us so that we can see yourself, so others can see you, and to tell you good stories, all the good stories that you're doing out there. So we want to see those good, fun stories, because, you know, 7 o'clock is more the hard news, but we want to keep it light.
Yeah. Same.
What about you? What about you? She's like, yeah, say it.
No, I agree. It's just that ending the day on the good note, almost like come and hang out with us while we tell you all the good things you missed today.
Right.
You know, and just making sure we can, and like LaDawn said, if we miss something good that happened today, let us know, because we want to tell you about it. We want to share it as much as possible. Like those kids today with their crops and having that happy ending for them. People need to know there's still hope in community.
I love that. I love that. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations to you, and we look forward to seeing your success from here as you take it to great levels. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
All right, that's the fun side of our show. I don't have much fun stuff to do. That's the fun side of it. When we come back from the break, we're going to go into some serious talks tonight. My guest tonight is Ramona Farquharson, who's also a host here on the ZNS Network. I tell you, we got all the best people here at the ZNS Network. Host of The Legal Brief. We're going to talk about the court system. I've been telling you all week about an experience I had, having had to go to the court system this Monday, and it was a nightmare. I'm going to tell you about that story, and I'm going to ask Ramona Farquharson about the court system in this country and what needs to happen to address some of these problems. And then a little later, we're going to talk about investment. The Director of Investments for the Bahamas is here, and she'll talk about what's happening with with investments throughout the country. So it's going to be an exciting show that we have planned for you. You want to stick around. We're going to get started with it right after the break. You're watching The Rundown here on the ZNS Network. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
After 30 years of banking, I've decided to take a leap of faith. I moved from banking into an untapped industry, which is manufacturing in the Bahamas. And now we are standing on 3 acres of land on which we're going to be putting the Bahamas' first end-to-end plastic recycling company, Eden Recycling and Manufacturing Company Limited. Eden has 2 arms, recycling and manufacturing.
This is groundbreaking for us. It's never been done before. It really makes a difference, not only in the Bahamas, but even around the world. This is not just a project that we're doing so that we can make a couple of dollars. We want to make sure that it benefits those who come after us. In future generations, we hope that this is a small vision, that they will take it and they'll expand on it. We can have the formula for what it means to do end-to-end recycling in the Bahamas, in the region, and even if we have to export these ideas and thoughts and concepts even into the U.S.
For more than 30 years, thousands have attended the annual Bahamas Bridal Show to enjoy a spectacular fashion show, fun and games, food and champagne, and $30,000 in prizes, including honeymoons. On Sunday, March 23rd at Grand Hyatt Baha Mar, come see the reason the Bahamas Bridal Show is the ultimate experience for weddings and special events. Show tickets, $75. Call 421-9783 or visit bahamasevents.net.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SBDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
Welcome back to The Rundown. A special good night to all of you who are watching on social media. If you're watching on YouTube, great to have you. If you're watching in the Lion's Den, my people in the Lion's Den on Facebook, good to have all of you. I see some of my faithfuls like Daisy Meadows, who's always on. Good to have you with us. And if you're watching from around the Caribbean, Turks and Caicos, or around the world, it's always good to have you. Well, the government's ensuring that the national judicial system is the most effective ever. Today, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Ryan Pinder, listed what's on that agenda in his mid-year budget contribution in the upper chamber. Now, the implementation of the Court Services Council, the Judiciary Infrastructure Reform Project that involves a new juvenile and family court on Burnett Road, an expansion of specialty courts, as well as a new Supreme Court complex. All of that are part of those plans. With those aggressive plans, residents still want to know, however, though, is will they really work to enhance the court system? And that's where we're going to begin our discussion tonight. A veteran attorney and, of course, host of the Legal Brief here on the ZNS Network, Ramona Farquharson, can hopefully help to answer some of those questions, or at least put it in perspective for us. And good evening, welcome to the show. Always good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I want to tell my story first, and I'll only tell you a part of the story to the audience because, of course, I'll explain a lot more of it a little later when things are concluded. But I want to share with you an experience that I had that helped me become more sensitized to what our own people, visitors, whoever, face if they have to access the court or services in the court. So, last week, I have a couple who's a friend of mine. They're both of them. The husband is a permanent resident. The wife is a visitor. And they called me very concerned about a matter. And I won't get into the matter now, but I'll talk about that later. Nonetheless, the issue here is they were required to appear before the magistrate's court for what I consider to be a misdemeanor, right? This is my own personal view. It was silly. And there were some reasons why they ended up going to a police station, having to now be booked, the female, and taken to court. I won't get into that now. I'll talk about all of that later when I talk about the police. But nonetheless, went to court. They called me frantic because they've never been experiencing, they don't even know how to experience something like this in the Bahamas. And I said, I'll go with you because I understand sometimes our system. Went with them to court on Friday. Court started, it's supposed to be a 10 o'clock hearing. It started about 11:30. Went into court. The charge was read. There was some confusion over her nationality and all that stuff. That wasn't even correct. The court papers were not correct. Had wrong information on it. Nonetheless, the judge read the charges off and said, okay, well, let's correct the paper. Come back on Monday. So Monday came, and I told him I'll be right there to support you We went back on Monday, and it was read again and said, okay, let's set a court date to hear this matter, small matter. And the judge said, okay, well, since you're visiting, I'm going to sign a cash bail. The first time, there was no cash bail. It was just bail, police bail. This time, an amount was set, $5,000. Fine. So after that's finished, they asked her to sit on the bench next to the prisoner dock that had a number of men who were going to be arraigned, most of them on serious crimes. But they asked her to sit right to the near the prisoner dock until the bail was paid. So her husband and the attorney went downstairs to go and pay this $5,000 bail. Now, on the way out, one of the employees of the court tells them now, if you're going to use a card, the machine mightn't be working because it don't work a lot of times. And I'm thinking, this can't be for real. Get downstairs, stand on this line, get to the cashier window, issue the card to pay the $5,000 bail. Cashier says, oh, our machine isn't working. We can't take the payment from your card. So we have to go get cash. Leave to go to a bank to withdraw cash to bring back because the machine is not working. And got back, gave the money to the window. The cashier left that window after taking the money for about 45 minutes to an hour before coming back with a receipt. All this time, the magistrate is upstairs hearing other matters. I'm sitting upstairs in the courtroom and I'm hearing people get arraigned for murder, people getting arraigned for rape. There was even the gentleman who was having his hearing who was being accused of the murder of the 70-something-year-old woman and rape. And my guests who are in town are sitting there like, they can't believe that they're in a courtroom hearing these people charged with these serious crimes. And I'm telling them, it's okay, that's what happens. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's taking long. Why are they downstairs taking so long? This magistrate is going to soon be finished with her matters, and what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? If she's finished and they're still not up here, what's going to happen? All the persons who are being charged are going to be put in a cell. Guess what? That cashier took forever downstairs for whatever reason. And the magistrate was done. And I went downstairs to see what was going on, and they were still waiting. Went back upstairs, and you can imagine what happened. They took them out and took her into her cell, a visitor. She went into this cell. We don't know where the cell was, but they took her out with all the other young people and men who were arraigned on murder and rape. They took her with them. And finally, after about an hour and some, they brought the receipt out. The receipt was taken upstairs to the court. The magistrate has to now issue a decree to have her released. They told us to go downstairs to the first floor. She'll come out on the first floor. We waited there for about an hour before she came out. What took so long? We don't know. So you can imagine when she came out, she literally broke down in her husband's arms. They took me into a cell. I was in jail with murderers and all these stuff like that. She broke down literally. And she left. We took her home. She left. She'll have to come back on April 24th for this misdemeanor hearing and charge. My concern, though, was the fact that her being put in jail wasn't because that's what was required. It was because of a lack of the court's efficiency in being able to take a card, process the matter quickly, and have somebody released who should not really be in a cell. Why are we in the 21st century not delivering top-notch customer service with government services? Why are people, how many Bahamians have had to have the raw end of the law stick thrown at them because of people's inefficiencies or because people just do the jobs routinely? They don't care about that individual or that family or that person who really don't need to be in court. But because of police matters, they're there. And things end up going sour because they take so long to process something. People end up experiencing that kind of environment. It is shocking to me that this is what we are doing in the 21st century. And then we wonder why people complain. We wonder why people row about the court system. We wonder why people talk about police unfairness and brutality and how they treat you, and why people leave the country and have a horrible experience because of lack of professionalism. That's why I bring you in, Ramona Farquharson. But you're an attorney. You've been in this environment. When I told you about this story, I was expecting shock, and you were like, yeah, really? Yeah? You're lucky they didn't keep her over the weekend. And I was like, what? What is happening in our court system? Why is it difficult to deliver quality service, even in the execution of justice in this country?
I believe a lot of it, believe it or not, as you've touched on, has to do with the personnel more so than what is in place. The correct procedures are in fact in place. Had the matter been properly processed, then the magistrate, the file would have been brought to her, she would sign the release order, and that would be the end of it. Yeah. However, you end up coming or having to deal with persons, as you said, who may not be, I guess it depends on the day sometimes. But it's unfortunate, your complaint, and when you did call me, as I said, because we're so used to dealing with it, unfortunately, and hearing these things. Whenever there's a problem, obviously you move to think, what is the remedy? Right. How can we cure this? Well, complaints, there are proper complaint procedures. You have Miss Grant, she's in charge of the magistrate's court administratively. I find her to be very good, she moves. I suppose had you, let's say, phoned me, I would have been able to reach out to her and she would have gotten on it right away. That can occur. And also the registrar of the Supreme Court, Mr. Toot, the acting registrar, again, very good. Will get onto things right away and make the call or even walk or drive down to ensure that things are in place. But again, it's very unfortunate. Right, because I'm saying that's again having connections, right? What about the average Bahamian who don't have nobody to pick up the phone and call and say, listen, what I'm experiencing here is not good. What my concern is that our people are vulnerable and are left at the mercy of public servants who ought to operate at a certain standard. They should. That's required. That shouldn't be a special treatment. That's a requirement to all persons. I agree. It should. However, you say that's special treatment. No. Though it's just that we know because we're in the system that those persons are in fact there. Also, too, at the front desk, I believe had you made a complaint to the lady who sits in the front desk, she would have called someone to come out and assist you. And mind you, the attorney did all that. Yes. He went to her and she said, I'm going to check on it. Yes. We didn't get any response from that. It's just very unfortunate. We go through that. We also sometimes there are glitches in the system where persons, they come to sign bail and they may be told, oh, because you have a certain job. Or if you work for immigration or even the police, you're not allowed to sign bail. There is no rule that says that. Although there may be an unspoken policy where they frown upon it, they don't want there to be a conflict of interest. But however, we just had a matter the other day where a wife needed to sign for her husband. Well, who best to sign for someone than the wife, who will have control and live with the person. However, but those things happen. And because of that, then, they had to spend overnight because things. They had to spend overnight in jail. They had to stay overnight because the process could not be completed. And sometimes that happens as well. If persons, let's say they've been in custody or they turn themselves in, they don't make it to court at 10 o'clock. So you imagine the natural, I don't know if it's natural, but the delays that occur. So if you arrive there 12 or 1 o'clock, imagine now. You are running, you're running close. You're running close there in terms of the clock. But to what you're saying, it shouldn't happen. How can we get more or more efficiency? It has to be then training. constant training. With these new services and new initiatives, we're seeing new persons coming into the system, of course, we're then losing persons are retiring, old faces are passing, new are coming in. That's a way of life. But there needs to be, I believe, more in-depth and perhaps more frequent training.
The court system has always said to be overburdened, right? There seems to be a lot of cases. But we've seen a lot of new magistrates and new justices that have been sworn in. Are we still experiencing this backlog in cases?
Well, let's look at it this way. If we're just on the criminal side, if we're averaging 100 murders a year, I mean, think about that. I mean, you're not going to have 100 murder trials each year. So therefore, it's going to be a catch-up situation. And there are times when you may have a matter, there's a conviction, the person appeals, there may be a ruling to send it back for a retrial. Sometimes it may make it all the way to the Privy Council. It all depends. And so that is an extra, what you thought was out of the system or dealt with is back in. And so those things happen as well. So I don't know if we can say automatically because we have new judges that it's going to solve the backlog issue. I don't believe, I think it's a lot more than that. And
is there a way that certain matters do not need to go to court? There seems to be a lot of simple and petty matters that police file and then obviously have to go to court for arraignments and so forth. That can be settled in a different environment other than the court, so that the courts can be available to actually deal with serious and important matters. Are there still too many petty cases that are going before courts?
Well, again, people will say, what is petty? To the person who's making the complaint, they may not see it as petty. And again, every defendant has to have their day in court. You're being charged does not mean that you're guilty. So you're innocent until proven guilty. Someone can say, for instance, you trespass or you did this, something that may be very minor on the books, but nonetheless, that person may not wish for that to be reflected on their record. So they have a good character. The person has a good character, they don't want anything on their record, any blemish at all. Or they may feel quite strongly that, no, I did not do what you said I did. And so they ought to have, the law says, their time to speak, to be heard, to question any witnesses. And as I'm saying this, you know, persons are sitting back saying, oh my goodness, but that's the time there. So you can have a minor matter with 3 to 4 or 5 witnesses, that's taking up police time. They have to be to court, but that's then the price of justice.
Are there other alternatives to court? I think if I remember carefully, I remember government saying they were hoping to have to do something, I guess, community or civil, where they were allowing pastors to be trained so that they can hear matters I remember the Minister of National Security coming on and talking about it, so that they wouldn't have to refer those matters to courts, but those can be dealt with in a community environment, heard by a community leader and decision made rather than taking those matters to court based on the nature of what the offense is.
I would say there's certainly a large number of attorneys now who call to the bar, and so if that is the way that the government wishes to go, rather than, I would say, a minister or so, but somebody who really is legally trained and calling would understand the tenets of law and be able to properly marshal evidence and listen and fairly dispose of matters as much as possible. I would say that's one avenue of it. Another avenue, and I know people may say, is perhaps more utilization of night courts. I think we've put on 2 civil courts and there's a traffic court. Maybe too having perhaps more matters that can be dealt with in the evening. So you're not only just utilizing the mornings, but also the afternoons as well. And so you can then deal with that. And the issue as well, with respect to the Supreme Court, I don't know how that may go off, but again, court is 10 to 4, it's mandated. So there may need to be some change or look at it. I think at one point they toyed with having courts on a Saturday. I attended court on a Saturday, traffic court at Nassau Street. So
they actually tried that.
Yes, they did. They did try that.
Did it work?
I thought it was okay. But it was very short-lived. Yeah, so it's something to consider.
When we look at the the judiciary, obviously we're looking at ways we can always reform what we do. What stands out to you when you think about reforms that are needed in our court system and our justice system?
I'm finding, and persons may have different views, other stakeholders, but we have lost stenographers in the courts. And to me, that's in many ways slowed the process. I found that with stenographers, you were able to get your transcripts in a timely manner that would have assisted you. Let's say if you've had an entire day of trials, you're able to get those transcripts, you can prepare, you can be back almost within the week or 2 weeks. They would say to you, I'll have it out for you the next week. And so there was more of a smoother running rather than a judge saying, well, okay, I need to adjourn this matter. We've had a full day. You have judges taking copious notes in their books. I mean, this is what we're back to because, again, you're not so certain that the system that's in place, that you're going to be able to get transcripts from that system. For whatever, a plethora of reasons, it's not always readily available and there are delays. We're finding it as well in the Supreme Court, in the family courts. Again, it would be wonderful if trials that you have stenographers, but again, they have to wait and queue. The criminal courts, I understand, take priority over them. And so a lot of attorneys, we've discussed it, and there's really a feeling and a need that we should have stenographers. It's very, very important, particularly if you wish to challenge a decision. You shouldn't have to always, as it appears to be sometimes, that you have to be dependent on the notes of the magistrate. Yes, those form the official record of the court, but you would like to have a more independent note taker, and that's where the stenographer comes in. And as I said before, we found a lot of difficulties in getting transcripts out of certain courts, particularly out of the magistrate's courts. And so it's really slowing things down. And of course, the benefit is that's a great source of employment for young men and young women who wish to go into that field. That would be wonderful. But again, we don't seem to be focusing on it, having a program where at BTVI or even in high school, I know there's some focus on other areas like cosmetology, but I think that that would be an excellent area as well to generate employment. And it's needed. It's sorely needed and will help.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up this particular segment. We're back after this. Stay close.
Are you ready for the hardest sports show on the market? It's called The Timeout, Sundays on the ZNet Television Network. In our first show, 4 decades of sports in the country.
Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we have been in Exuma now for the past 4 years, carrying out our paving program. A part of our company's philosophy is producing work to international standards. So when you look at our paving division, we have a state-of-the-art lab to do all of our testing in-house, as well as a state-of-the-art asphalt plant with a trained technician carrying out the work on that site. The overarching goal of our company is to produce the work that we're doing in the entire Bahamas to international standards. We also make a difference by the training of our staff. We have a very intensive training program going on to where we are teaching young men how to learn the art of striping. Being a young man myself, I've made mistakes in the past. I was given a second chance to better my life, and it's only fitting that we pass it along. What's important for us is giving them a second chance for them to get a skill and a career that could take them further in life.
The internet isn't just for surfing. There's a sea of shoppers buying online, and you can connect with them on Tingsy. Tingsy is the SBDC's online storefront built for Bahamians. Take your business to the next level by selling to customers online, both at home and around the world. People want Bahamian things, and if you got things to sell, sell on Tingsy. Find out how you can connect with a sea of buyers by visiting tingsybahamas.com.
Welcome back to The Rundown. My guest tonight is host of The Legal Brief and veteran attorney Ramona Farquharson, talking about the legal system and its efficiency and what needs to happen in the legal fraternity, really. I wanted to continue talking about that because we're talking about ways to improve efficiency. Are trials still being heard years after it was recorded of the event?
Yes, it's still happening.
Yes.
Yes.
So, how then do people remember what they're testifying against? Do you remind them of what their statements?
They give statements. They ought to contemporaneous notes by the police officers when they're on a scene. They ought to take those. They have their notebooks, and then they transcribe and place it into a report that's in the file, as well as witnesses. They come in, they give their statement if they're ID parades, road galleries, all of those things, those are taken.
So you have to really rely, the case is based on that file that you could,
yes, well, that will jog the memory, because obviously if you come to a trial, the average time is about what? Anywhere from 2 to 5 years. For the hearing of certain Supreme Court matters. Could be more, it all depends.
Is that normal regionally?
I can't speak for the region. I know it's normal for us here in the Bahamas.
Does that bode well for persons who are on trial or trying to build a defense?
It all depends, you know.
People don't remember, or the people don't want. 2 years later, if you've done all the work to get over a matter and you don't want to relive that matter, you simply say, what? I don't want to go anymore.
That's so. I mean, like it or not, it does happen. Particularly, I find in certain sexual offense matters, you find that the witnesses have moved on, and they don't wish to relive, and they don't wish to go ahead with it anymore, and so. I don't know. The argument can be that either that's their feeling, or either they've realized that I wasn't telling the truth on this innocent person, and I've decided not to go ahead with the lie. I mean, either or. So it can be seen from both sides. That time can be a blessing, or time can be a curse.
Based on the sentencing or the maximum sentencing for some crimes, is it worth going through an entire trial?
Again, it's who's asking the question.
Right.
If you're the defendant, it may be, let's say if trespass, you may say, okay, it's only $25
Is that what the fine is for trespass?
I think it's thereabouts. You may be thinking that. However, for the person, let's say they have a dispute over a land issue, and sometimes that does happen, and you wish to say to someone, you're on my land, or and the person takes a different view, and you get into whatever words, and whoever makes it to the station first, sometimes invariably that's it.
Right.
It's not much, I found, not very much investigation, but whoever makes it there first makes the complaint, or, you know, sadly sometimes it's who knows who. And so the other person may be charged, and so for them it may be, even regardless of the fine, that it's very important to them that I be heard because I'm not guilty. And so, yes, the going back and forth to the court, but again, to them, it's important.
The role of police in the carriage of justice. How do I say this gingerly? Because there seems to be a major role that police play in determining whether somebody should be charged, go to court, or whether this matter, well, you know, this ain't a real issue, let's leave it alone. A lot of that weighs on police officers.
Yes, it does.
What is your view of that? Because it seems very subjective based on who the officer is, how they feel about you, how they feel what's going on, whether you will now have to face the next couple of weeks going back and forth to a court.
It does to to a fair extent. However, for the more serious matters, I found that the officers, particularly of the Central Detective Unit, they refer the matters to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Correct. So they're given advice as to whether or not they should charge and what the charge should be. So that is happening. And
are all matters required to be referred before? I
cannot say if that is their policy decision, but I have found that in murder matters, sexual offense matters, for the most part, they're referrals. I can't say if it's always, but that occurs, and I think that works out quite well. Now, for more summary matters, where you may have a threat of death or a fight or the usual obscene language or vagrancy, the case may be, that officers, and I don't really see a problem with it, that a seasoned officer, and now we run the course and going to other things, but a sergeant who's in charge of a station, again, seasoned, knows his job, has a good command or rapport with his officers, I don't see why they ought not be able to make a determination, particularly after, let's say, speaking with the person who is in custody and also the complainant, to see if they can bring some level of harmony and see if we can just dispose of this in the station. I do know that it happens sometime, but again, perhaps not as often as it should. I knew at one time there was a thing where the police would say, well, you know what, y'all sort it out at court. We're not accepting any withdrawals here. You deal with it at court. Everything goes to court. But I think that if we can perhaps, again, with training and get them to exercise more discretion. Now, again, persons will be saying, well, I don't want the police to decide anything. If I bring a complaint and I want this dealt with at the courts. And so you see, it's very difficult to strike that balance. But again, something has to give, something has to happen, because we cannot, every matter complained about, I don't believe should be or forward it to the courts.
All right, Ramona Farquharson, it's always a pleasure to have you and your sound advice. And again, you can get Ramona Farquharson on The Legal Brief. It comes on
Tuesdays,
right after my show. I always sleep when I'm leaving the studio. Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Make sure to watch The Legal Brief. You get some really good advice on matters pertaining to the legal system of court. Thank you again. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Rob.
When we come back, what is happening in our country with domestic and foreign direct investments? How much money are we landing, and are people still interested in our country? Well, there's one woman who can tell you that. She is Director of Investments. She's here to talk about it. We'll be talking to her right after the break. Stay close.
We're here at the Nassau Village Community Center project, where over the past 17 months, we've hired over 20 Bahamian subcontractors to bring this beautiful project to fruition.
I've been living in Nassau Village for more than 19 years, and to see a project like this bring great joy and pride to me.
This state-of-the-art multi-purpose community center will serve as a crime-fighting initiative in the community. Also help with the education of our kids in this community and a hurricane shelter.
Yeah, and it also shows what we as Bahamians can achieve when we work hand in hand with each other.
We have the technical know-how, and we can pretty much deliver on any project here in the Bahamas or in the world.
Bahamas Stripe and the Bahamian Company, they prove that they believe in Bahamians.
Based on the outcome of this project, I don't think they're disappointed in giving a small person an opportunity to do a job such as this.
The more opportunity they get, the more opportunity we will get.
If you look around and see the work done so far, it just shows what we as Bahamians can do.
I have been coming to this island since I was 12 years old. It didn't take me long to realize the rich history it has here. When I bought this island in 2018, I fulfilled a lifelong dream. The goal is not only to preserve the memories I made over those years, but to make new ones and to give others the opportunity to do the same. As we go through this process, it has become clear to me, we aren't just rebuilding an island, we're reviving a legend.
mailboat service is a critical service to the islands of the Bahamas. Certainly, Andrews has always been there and dear to us. That's where we're born and raised. And so we play a crucial role in advancing the growth and development of Andrews. Customers want service and they want consistency. From the start, that's been our commitment. We work to sail on time every time. Our customers have come now to expect this from us. And one of the biggest challenges we've had was finding adequate funding. SPDC from the very start has been a lifesaver. My advice to young people, if you have a vision, a passion, an idea, go for it. Don't give up. It's not easy. If it was, everybody would be doing it. Be consistent and you'll get there.
Hi, I'm Brent Burrows, Vice President of Retail and Sales at CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store. Not only do we guarantee the best prices on all your favorite building materials, but we're proud to offer the best delivery program in all of Nassau. Whether you buy one box of screws or a truckload of plywood, island-wide delivery is just $5. And for our Family Island customers, we're proud to offer complimentary drop-off to the mailboat of your choice. Visit us today at the CBS Pro Store on Robinson Road and check out our website to set up your next delivery.
Welcome back tonight. Domestic and foreign direct investments are among the priority items on the Davis administration's agenda. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Ryan Pinder, revealed in his mid-year budget debate today that investor confidence has surged. Foreign direct inflows increased to $530 million in 2022 and then nearly tripled to $1.46 billion in 2023. Well, the Director of Investments, Felicia Woods-Hanna, is joining me tonight to talk more about what we're seeing happening in investments. Director, it's good to have you with us. Thank you. Welcome to the Rundown.
Thank you for having me.
That's a big jump. That's some significant progress.
Mm-hmm.
What has led to that surge in investments here in the country?
Well, investments is broken down into three areas. It is attributed to the increase in promotions, the efficiency of facilitation, and our aftercare unit that we would have recently established. So the monitoring and evaluation has increased in investor confidence. The Bahamas is unique in its makeup as an archipelago, and because of that we have 700 islands and keys that are beautiful, pristine, and ripe for foreign direct investments into our shores. So it's easy for us to promote our jurisdiction as a premier jurisdiction. We have put checks and balances in place as it relates to facilitation. So that's probably the biggest thing that we are proud of today to have accomplished, creating the ease of doing business. So we're not just talking about the ease of doing business as sexy language anymore. We're making it a real thing. We're making it quicker for turnaround times. We're making access to both foreign and domestic investors to have concessions. So there's a lot of great things happening at the Bahamas Investment Authority, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
I'm glad you talked about it, about doing the ease of doing business, because that has been what marred us for so many years. People said, oh, it's so difficult to do business in the Bahamas. And how important was it to address that issue before you were able to go out there and attract the billions?
It was the key thing to attracting the billions of dollars of investments. But it was the public that we attribute that to, because we really got started with the boots to the ground and going to public and consulting them on what are the impediments, what frustrates you when you come to the Bahamas Investment Authority. You have to have broad shoulders in order to understand and really help and create an ease of doing business in our country.
One of the things we talked about many times in this show is getting a lot of these foreign investors who are wealthy and going to make millions and billions of our country. How do we get them to inject back into the country and do well? Is there an opportunity in formulating heads of agreements and contract agreements to be able to say, okay, you know, we're going to require you to do X, Y, Z to help boost the island that you're going to be putting your project on? They have some needs. And so this percentage of your earning ought to go and help them.
Yeah, well, there are a number of different components that come into the negotiations of a heads of agreement. So we don't just sign. What you see on television with us signing is months and months of work and firm negotiations on behalf of the Bahamian people from our part. What we do is we look at the national investment policy. We assess the capacity locally to deliver on certain items, certain components of foreign direct investments, depending on the sector that the investment represents. And then we make sure that we continue to restrict those industries so that our domestic investors, our entrepreneurs, are able to benefit. And of course, first, those entrepreneurs that are currently on the islands in which the investment is proposed for.
We don't often hear about them. Are those businesses and entrepreneurs taking advantage of investment opportunities?
Yes, and they do come to the Bahamas Investment Authority, and they do let us know what their capacity is, and we do our research. We hold meetings, even with not just new investments, but current investments through our aftercare unit. When we see opportunities that exist on the island, you know, things change and things evolve over the years. And so we do our research on the individual islands, and we talk to the people and get an assessment over the years, what has been the increased capacity. So we have a fair understanding of what we can give back to the community, or what investors can give back to the community.
You've been there for now almost 4.5 years. What are you seeing people, what is attracting the investors? What are the areas that we're seeing a lot of people want to invest in the Bahamas?
Of course, tourism. Tourism is always going to be key. I always tell investors the Bahamas has a good problem to have. We have the heads, so we need them to create the beds.
Right.
So, and that's across the country. So that's always the top one. In terms of our promotional strategy, I would like to see personally more investment in agriculture, industrial sector, those types of areas, the maritime industry. Those are the industries that we need to see more investment in, but not just investment from foreign investors, but joint ventures where they empower Bahamians. So working with those that have the capacity on the ground and creating opportunities, real opportunities that the country can benefit from.
Have you made that something that you've actually asked an investor? For example, an investor comes to you and say, we want to do X, Y, Z. Do you say, okay, this looks good, but we're going to need you to find a local partner and partner with them because we want to ensure that we're able to build continuity among our entrepreneurs?
Definitely. Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, we have to.
And people actually do that?
Yes, they do. They do. We have had applications refused where we see...
Really?
Yes. Where we see the local capacity to do so, we would refuse, or if there is an opportunity to joint venture. If there's an application where there's a Bahamian with the financial ability as well as the technical ability to do the project, then we would want that Bahamian to have the first opportunity to do so. So why not empower that Bahamian? You don't need me for that.
We hear people talk about concessions that foreigners get when they do that. Are those concessions available as well for domestic investors?
All concessions that are available to Bahamians are available to foreigners alike. You would have seen that we would have recently signed a heads of agreement with Pleasure Play, Sea Sun Limited, and that was 100% Bahamian. So that's a prime example of a Bahamian being afforded the same concessions and opportunities to kickstart a foreign investment that is going to create hundreds of jobs for Bahamians.
We're consistently talking about heads and beds. What is the investment authority looking for? The more suite style mom and pop bed and breakfast, or the small resort versus the big Las Vegas style hotels like the Atlantis and the Bahama? Is that more what we're looking to do throughout the archipelago?
Well, that answer varies based on the island, right? So what we do is we work with the Ministry of Tourism and get an idea of what they also have their promotional campaign, and so we work with them to find out exactly what are the needs, what do they need. They have a lot of statistical data that we benefit from to understand the products that are required based on island.
Are we getting investments throughout the Family Islands, or is it primarily the main islands?
what do you call the main islands? All islands
New Providence, Grand Bahama.
All islands are made to me.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
I'm glad you said that. But I'm talking about the more populated islands like New Providence. Are people still attracted to them, or are people looking for those islands who may not have that kind of population and still saying, yeah, because of that spot, I want to put my investment there?
Well, between 2021 and present day, I would say that the family of islands have been a little more popular.
Really?
Yeah. When you look at the amount of projects. So from 2021 to present, there have been a total of about 140 to 142 projects that have been processed through the authority, which is huge. That equates to about 10 to 11 billion dollars worth of investments to our shores. Most of them have been on the islands of Exuma and Eleuthera. So we've seen a major inflow on those islands in comparison to the Grand Bahama and the New Providence. Now, each island, like I would have indicated, as it has a different culture, has a different attraction for foreign direct investments.
I want to talk about, in the 5 minutes that we have left, obviously, we've seen this figure. What does that figure mean, and how does that translate into our economy and the success and the boost of our economy? We say 1.7 billion in investments. How does that translate into everyday language for Bahamians? What does that mean for our economy?
Well, let me start by saying, before I answer that gone are the days that we say that foreign direct investments translates into jobs for Bahamians. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, we're not doing that anymore. So it translates into contracts. Domestic opportunities, entrepreneurship, subcontracts, whether it's in the construction phase, whether it's in the food and beverage phase, whether it's in retail facilities, all of those things, we demand that they are reserved for Bahamians.
So these projects actually create opportunities for Bahamians to go into business. And again, that translates to everybody every day. My final question is simply this. Tell us, what does it look like for the future for the Bahamas this year, next year? What are we looking at?
We are looking at a bright future. You look at a Bahamas Investment Authority today that is focused on efficiency in processing of applications, which will translate into more opportunities for Bahamians, as I would have previously indicated. You would look at a firm monitoring and evaluation in an aftercare unit that will make sure that Bahamians continue to maximize on the opportunity. You're looking at more revenue generated. We're also looking at the efficiency of the return that we get from taxation of foreign direct investment into our country. So that's what the future looks like.
All right, looks like it. Some good news is on the way.
Yeah.
Anything in the pipeline that you want to project is going to be pretty interesting for the country?
Watch and see. More beds, of course, for heads. We're seeing more interest in other sectors, which I'm proud of. We're hoping to see more investments to islands such as Grand Bahama that much needed. Yeah, Grand Bahama, we got you in the pipeline. There's a strong focus on a number of different industrial-related, hotel-related projects for the island of Grand Bahama. And then we're looking at the southern islands as well. We haven't forgotten them to see what they have to offer. There has been some expression of interest there, so we're going to see what's feasible and in the best interest of the Bahamian people at all times.
All right, we'll be watching close. Felicia Wood, Director of Investments, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And that does it for the rundown. Be sure to stay locked on the ZNS Network for the Bahamas tonight at 11. It's the absolute final newscast in the country with the latest news and information with Royston Jones. He's over there getting ready for the 11 o'clock news. For all of us here at ZNS, I'm Clint Watson. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good night, everyone.
At Fort Montague, I'm Opal Roach. This is ZNS. You and Your Money is brought to you by the Ministry for Grand Bahama, the Deposit Insurance Corporation, Bahamas Air, and FOCO. At the recently held 26th Annual